Hi, I'm Mrs. Equidance and I design our floor plans. What I really love about doing the floor plan design is, firstly, it's another way to connect with the riders and to find out a little bit more about what they want from the music, but also it enables me to design the floor plans with the music in mind. So with a freestyle, it differs from a straight dressage test in that you can really play to your horse's strengths and kind of tuck away and hide the areas that need improvement. And what I mean by this is if your horse has an astonishing medium trot, for example, well, you might want to do that coming towards the judge rather than going away from the judge. If your horse might get a little bit gobby in his leg yield, you might want to do that going away from the judge so they can look at a lovely straight bottom rather than a horse that's a little bit tricky in the contact. There are lots of things that I like to find out. I want to find out if the walk is reliable. Has it got a tendency to go lateral? Do we need to keep the horse turning? Is the horse better going from walk to canter, from walk into trot before they go into canter? Does the horse really want to do canter at the start of the test and walk at the end? So very much about what the rider wants to experience and their experience of training and competing that particular horse. Now you don't need to consider really the degree of difficulty with your floor plan until you get to medium level. So from prelim, novice, elementary, it's very much about flow and continuity and beauty and how you can really show off your horse. And it's like that at the higher levels as well. But for medium and above, you might want to consider putting perhaps some trickier lines in or non-compulsory movements if time allows. So a good example of the degree of difficulty, for example, would be if you had a horse perhaps into one that was quite new to the level, or maybe they're going into AB as a precursor to going Grand Prix. And they might, if they were very established at that level and the rider was really confident, then you might want to do bending lines for your tempies, or perhaps going from a pirouette into tempi changes. There's lots of things that we can do in order to kind of mix it up a little bit and make it a good experience for the rider, but always with the music in mind. So we don't tend to go, apart from at Grand Prix and Inter AB, we try not to go up and down the gearbox too much. So if you were designing a floor plan yourself, for example, you might want to keep your paces as much as possible in blocks. So rather than going trot, walk, canter, walk, trot, canter, it's very difficult to edit the music fluently when there's so many changes of pace. You might want to think about working your trot section, say it was an elementary, starting with your circles, going into your leg yield, and then perhaps into a medium on whichever lines you fancy. But it allows us to create a bit of a story and build the music in order to give you a really good and intuitive ride back when you come to do your test. When it comes to designing your floor plan, I have a minimal fluff policy. So what I don't want is laps. I don't design floor plans where riders are just doing nothing or doing a movement that really isn't going to score them anything in terms of the compulsory movements or boost their collectives. So what happens if you have too much fluff is that you'll be over time. So for a prelim and novice, you've got between 4 and 5 minutes. Elementary and up to and including into one, you've got between 4.5 and 5 minutes. Now that's really tight. Now the levels where that is we find it most tight is medium, because you have simple changes rather than flying changes. And then again, it gets quite tight into one because you have to have a full pirouette rather than a half pirouette, which you have at PSG. So what you have to do when you design is think, how can I creatively move from one movement to another without just going up and down the arena? How can I add curves and bending lines and three-quarter lines? How can I give the judge a good experience? Because they don't want to know where you're going. And if you're just going up and down or around the arena, you're not going to get a great mark for use of the arena or difficulty or anything like that. So timing is really important. And the advantage of actually having someone design your floor plan for you, be it us or be it your trainer, is that you will get help with that. And the timing is from your move off after your first halt to your last halt. It doesn't include your introduction. So that test portion is what you will be timed on. And it can be quite tricky to get that balance right, especially if you add too much fluff. So you've chosen your music. Tony's put it all together for you. You've been sent your video file, your MP3. So now what do? Well, the easy answer to that is you listen to that piece of music and you watch that video until it becomes part of your cellular structure. So you know every little subtle nuance. You stick it on in the car. If you like to jog, you stick it in your earphones. You blast it wherever you go and you learn it, because then you are very, very unlikely to not have a good experience riding it back. A lot of arenas will ride differently. So, for example, if you've got a sand and rubber, it can be a little bit holding, whereas a wax surface, you're going to skip across the top of it like playing tennis on grass. You're going to cover a lot more ground. So what you need to be able to do as a rider is ride the music. Ride the music, not your markers. The letters are really important for you when you're designing your floor plan and when you do your initial test ride for us to put the music to. But when you do your ride back, you are riding the pattern and the feel of the music. If you ride the music, if you are 1 or 2 seconds in front or behind your music, you're going to know, and you will be able to adjust your test in order to compensate for that. The other advantage is if you fluff up a movement, because the judge doesn't know, always have a plan B. So if you stuff up a simple change in your elementary or medium test, have a plan where you can adapt your floor plan and stick another one in. You don't have to stay on course for the whole test. You can exercise a little bit of artistic freedom in order to make sure that you maximize your technical marks. So what to do if you're in front or behind? It's really simple. You can ride your corners a little bit deeper or a little bit more shallow in order to gain or lose a couple of seconds. But doing that in real time rather than suddenly when you realise you're 7 seconds behind your medium trot, it is advantageous. Now, the beauty of having an Equidance arrangement is that it's very, very rider intuitive. So when you listen to it, you can feel where the transitions are. Now, those transitions are really important to hit because that is part of your music mark. It's part of the performance. So, for example, if you have to ride from trot to walk, and in your floor plan, you have to do that at C, but you're a little bit behind your music, it doesn't matter. You can ride that at M if you need to. You ride the music, not the marker. So the difference between getting an 8 for your music and getting a 6 for your music is usually dependent on the performance. And by the performance, what I mean is your ability to hit those transitions. It doesn't matter whether you're at Grand Prix or whether you're at prelim, you need to hit those music transitions. The music will not follow you. You have to very much dictate the performance and follow the music and ride with the music, not with the markers.